The tech head, Mr. Dipanshu, had
well, he sent me one. Yes, he did.
The Senate cross invite. At times, these WebEx invites and all may even land up into the spam folder, so that makes it a little difficult.
Mm-hmm. It's cloudy here.
All right, okay. It's kind of similar here too. Today it's sunny and sunny and
We really here. In Gurgaon? West Bangalore.
South.
We are good to go, Nitin sir.
Welcome and namaste to all of you, dear friends and dear students. This is Management Conclave, Managers to New Normal, conceptualized and promoted by Department of Management Studies, Vivekananda Global University. A 3-day-long, one-of-its-kind event. Last 2 days, we step in the day 3 of this mega event. Let me give you a quick summary of what had happened in last 2 days. Last 2 days, we're delighted to be joined by some of the country's senior corporate key leaders and some elite preschool directors, alongside of Vivekananda Global University alumni, discussing and making very comprehensively understand to all our student viewers, the MBA aspirants and the current management enrolled students, what it means to the new age learning, blended learning, and also trying to reinstate what's going to happen in the reinvented world in terms of the global trends in academia and business. Day 3, we have some very interesting conversation to carry on. Very delighted to have been joined by a star-studded panel. Before I introduce the panel, let me give you a glimpse of what we're going to talk about today. The 2 best terms that have come out of this lockdown of 67 days and this virtual world is WFH and LFH. Learn from home and work from home. This is exactly what we'll be discussing and letting you help understand what it means in detail. I'll request my tech team to help me introduce the star panelists we have for the day in discussion. Very firstly on screen, I see Dr. Vigyan Verma. Dr. Vigyan Verma have a long history from corporate to academia. He started out with JP Morgan Stanley as a senior investment banker and is currently the director of a leading business school in Mumbai, SIS Institute of Management Studies. He has also been associated with some elite B schools like Exhilarite Jaipur and Carleton University, Canada. He's also visiting faculty with IIM Kochikode. Next on the panel is Mr. Sadev Das. Mr. Sadev again have a long history in the business of recruitment. He has been at some senior positions when it comes to people management and talent management. Currently, Dr. Sadev is the director of talent acquisition, taking care of 11 different countries in APEC zone with a tech giant Unisys. He has also been an entrepreneur and have very rightfully ventured into a interesting entrepreneurial activities in terms of recruitment, Orange Antelopes and Wired.co. Next on the panel is Mr. Amit Sethi. Mr. Amit Sethi is a BTech in terms of graduation from Bangalore University. He's currently working as the Associate Vice President with E&Y, one of the leading Big Four units. He's a procurement industry with a widespread history of over 2 decades. Next on screen to join us the panel is Ms. Pooja Agarwal. Ms. Pooja Agarwal is currently associated with Chandelier, one of the leading elevator making group in the country and of course across the world. Pooja is currently the Vice President of Field Operations at Mumbai and Navi Mumbai. Pooja is also an alumni of one of the leading B schools, IIFT Delhi. And last on the screen is our very own star alumni, Mr. Smith Podar, who is professionally associated with Bharti Airport and have been working in the zone of Africa in finance sector for the last 3 years. I welcome all of our guests on behalf of Vivekananda Global University. As I just said, that today we'll be discussing about two of the most interesting acronyms that have emerged out of this lockdown, WFS and LFS. To begin with, because we have a huge volume of population who have joined us and is watching this live. Let's begin by understanding what learn from home means. I have my first question to begin the conversation with Dr. Pragyat. Virtual world of learning and education. Learn from home. I really want you to reinstate this terminology and help us understand in detail what it actually means to learn from home. And how ready are we? Also, I would like to take your input. In this era of digital revolution, edtech companies, recently I was just going through, I came across a video, and that was an interview of Mr. Byju's, the founder of Think and Learn application. In the conversation with one of the media personnel, it was being very well, coming out that Diwali had come out earlier for Think and Learn this time. Does this actually gonna question the concept of regular professional degree curriculum? These, the brands like Byju's or Upgrad or Udemy or Coursera, are certification courses going to challenge the professional degree education in this revolution of digital education? Dr. Begya.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, Nitin, and good morning, eminent panelists. Uh, the question which you have asked is actually in the minds of everyone today. What does the present look like? What does the future look like? Everyone is debating about this particular issue, right? Lot many experts have already given their opinions about their views on TVs, on various medias and all. I'm not too sure how things will change. But I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not a clairvoyant, and I really don't know also how things will change in the coming days. Whether the turnaround is going to be V-shaped in the sense of where we went down one fine morning, suddenly the lockdown was announced, and then the unlock are being announced. So it's going to be a V-shaped, or it's going to be U-shaped. It's going to take a little bit of your own time and all. I just want to mention a couple of quotes over here before I really go into how things will evolve from at least from my perspective. Bill Gates once said that many a times we overestimate what will happen in the short run and underestimate what will happen in the long run as such. Are we lost in this kind of confusion as such? The fact of the matter is that the COVID-19, which when it engulfed this monster engulfed the entire world, a lot of things changed. Just to give a little bit of statistics, Indian government has launched a couple of portals called SWAM or NPTL and all. And that saw in the past couple of months, at least about 5 times enrollment has gone up. That shows that more and more people are going for the blended learning as such. But let's say when we come back to a normalcy, when we find a solution for this vaccine, this virus as such, in days to come, are we going to go back to the traditional way of education as such? God only knows. But in the meanwhile, many universities in the world, right from Cambridge to Illinois and all, they've changed the entire pattern as such. Just to give you an example, University of Illinois, they have an MBA program. And each year they used to get about 100, 200 nominated, or used to select about 100, 200 students and all. Now, the entire MBA program at University of Illinois has now moved to what we call as blended learning, absolutely on the online platform. Now, for they joined hands with Coursera. So the MBA program at Illinois, which would have cost $100,000 for the entire program, now costs only just about $20,000. Now, Illinois, in just last few months only, is they've seen the enrollment has gone up to about 2,500 students. So right from just about 200 students, it's gone up to 2,500 number. Things are changing, no doubt about it. But how will it really become an integral part of the entire thing? God only knows, one thing is for sure, because I know it very well, is that one statement of one of the president of the U.S. Jeffrey, I think Howard Anderson said, is that if you solve all the problems in the world today, but one that is with regard to education, and next generation will probably have a lot of problems to solve. And on the other hand, he says that if you solve just one problem, and that is education, and leave other problems resolved, the next generation is going to solve. What he meant to say is that education is extremely crucial and important as such. What he meant to say is that this is a time to reflect on what is really happening all around us. And from that particular perspective, we need to make changes. So players like Byju's and Coursera and edX, as I said earlier, Swayam also have really become extremely powerful and useful. But a lot of institutions have started changing their pedagogies of offering education as such. To me, future is not what you do in the future. Future is what you do today. And that's how education really have to change. And that's going to be probably here, that will probably stay here for a long, long time to come, in the days to come as such. That's what I believe, today. Yeah.
Very correctly being pointed out, sir. Future would absolutely be marked by what we'll be doing in the present. And as we are doing some right things in the present, getting into right discussions, being thoughtful, and definitely wanting to make a better future, I'm sure future for these students will definitely be brighter.
Yes.
So we've just talked about LFH, learn from home. Second term, and probably a very wider term is work from home. Being 67 days of house arrest, the gadgets of how have workplaces been changed? How have teams been managed? The emotional well-being of the employees, anxiety being taken care, productivity was being monitored. All of these is a question which everyone wants to understand. And how have leadership emerged in these time of crisis? Taking an opinion on this, one by one from all the industry panelists, may I please request Mr. Sudev Das to start with.
Thanks, Nitin. I hope everyone can hear me well. Good morning to everyone and all the panelists. I think, from a perspective where we are, and it's interesting, and I'm no expert on pandemic. I have never lived through one. But as we go through this, I remember SARS, and then some of us were involved in handling impact and a couple of other reasons. But it was different. This was different. I think just the fact that it was so infectious has changed a significant context. When I say context, more in terms of, it's all about protecting yourself, your employees, your colleagues, and things that change. If I say 6 to 7 days, and I cut across 11 different countries, including China, where it first began, and we started seeing signs of that. I think users, and specifically talking about my organization, I think has been, it's been around for quite some time. Users, but they've also gone through a number of such situations, not in the pandemic, but in all of these things. So people were pretty stressed from a business country. In India, we have about 4,500, 5,000 employees, and across the number is close to about 10,000. So I think it was a significant shift for everybody, but the leadership, the way they came across, I think honesty is one. Authenticity, what I'm communicating, because it's all about trust in the digital age. So leaders were authentic. I think they were concerned. So the concern came out. Communication was strong. And also for enabling employees to get used to this whole situation which just came upon us unexpectedly. And so I think it's possible, and what that happened in our organization was fast. 4,500 folks in India went 2 days before the lockdown was announced into complete work from home mode. There were challenges, and there are, in terms of how do we connect, what are the laptops, how do we get things across, how do we shift processes online, but it happened very quickly. There was no option. But I think from a leadership standpoint, two more things that I have seen and I really admire, not just my organization, but a lot of organizations that have gone through this, is the authenticity of communication in the context of gratitude, knowing that it's a big shift for employees and they need to take care of it. And three, I think there's more understanding, more empathy around people's context. That's something that I'm seeing a significant shift in today's context. Is that empathy for my colleagues, or my, my supervisor, my boss, or kids, or the employees. I think all of us are impacted. And at the end of the day, we are humans, whether you are in India, China, or anywhere. And this is something that impacts all of us as individuals, as families, and as organizations. Nitin, I think you're on mute.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for reminding that. So very rightfully said that empathy has been one of the key elements to be able to handle big teams in these time of crisis. Connecting to Pooja on this, Pooja, what's your intake? How have the leaders emerged out of these situation of crisis? As this has always been seen. May it be the best-selling novels, or may it be the war movies. That leadership have always emerged out of crisis. What's your take on that?
Yeah. So first of all, congratulations, Nitin, for this incredible platform, which will help thousands of students here to build new skills or focus on what kind of areas to work on. This was absolutely unprecedented, right? 18th of March, when my organization, when we at leadership team decided that we'll start working from home, we didn't know that it was going to be spread over 67 days. But actually, whatever we have read in books or the videos that we see, leadership in crisis or life is 10% what happens and 90% of how you react to it. And I'm managing almost 700 people in the region, taking responsibility of them, has been quite a journey, right? If I see myself or my leadership team, we have evolved a lot. This gave us an opportunity. What we went about, Nitin, actually in our industry, we come under emergency services, right? And to be able to manage emergency services, we needed absolutely agility in terms of quickly planning, laying down the plan of the manpower, who will come from where. Especially 70% of the workforce is on ground, right? But they didn't have public transport. Out of 70%, almost 65%, especially in Mumbai, because most of the people stay in suburbs, so they use public transport. Now, to be able to quickly arrange things for them, I think the first thing that was needed was agility, to be able to plan the operations, to let the business, to let the customers not have the disruption, right? We wanted to still serve the customer, and we come under it. Second area was which we did was there were two paradoxes that we actually came out with. One is to slow down but still going fast. Slow down in terms of, again, reflecting the core goal or the purpose of my organization, of our organization. We went back. We thought our core purpose is to elevate, is to provide convenience to the customers. But the means of providing the same has completely changed, right? It's the goal remains the same. Our dream remains the same, but the way of achieving it has completely changed. And now we have prepared our people, sharpening the saw. We actually prepared our people to be able to go bigger, faster, fitter once the lockdown is over, right? In terms of connect with customers, because customers also needed that empathy. It's not only about the employees, it's also about the customers, because there are a lot of businesses who are completely suffering. So two things. One is about agility, being able to move fast, quickly turn around the operations, not waiting for the time. And I think if we take precedence, Italy, some of the districts had almost 70% of the population suffering from the pandemic, while in other districts, it was only 30%. because of the quickness of the decisions that they took, right? Similarly, I think I'll appreciate our country which took the decisions very quickly. So agility in operations to be able to provide the manpower. Until today, we haven't received even one customer complaint, which is a very big thing in our industry. And second thing was to be able to go slow, to be able to find out our again go back, which actually gets lost in the treadmill of operations, but still being able to prepare our employees to go fast. And third thing, as Sudev mentioned, is empathy, empathy, empathy. Right? Empathy, even going beyond the employee and connecting with their families. We have conducted talent shows, and the families came up and they wanted to showcase. They wanted to. We all had meals together. We all had dinners together. We every Sunday we have brunches together. The entire leadership team. So that we went high tech, but we still didn't lose the human touch. So these were the three aspects, and I think if we are going to continue on that journey to be able to abide by the social distancing norms, they're absolutely with the as leader, absolutely want to follow the government directives and ensure that the human part, human element of the business is not lost. Thanks, Nitin.
Right. So you very well touched upon the concept of human touch, and that should definitely not be found missing. May it be business, may it be customer handling, or may it be handling big teams. Connecting the same with Mr. Amit, I would here want to understand from your side, happiness is absolutely one thing, which have been at stake or been a challenge in this situation of pandemic, because this has been an health hazard, and depression have been widespread all over. Emotional well-being, in terms of the customers, terms. So we as an academy, we have a huge student base that's in terms of customers as well. So wanting to understand from your side, how important have been the emotional well-being, how important it had been to really ensure the happiness factor in the employees and the customers, and how have the leading organizations been able to do so?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Nitin, for addressing that question. So I think actually, these are unprecedented times. We've always talked about being ready for any sort of disruption. Like when we are in the course of our career, we are actually taught that okay, there will be disruptions in business, there will be disruptions due to challenges emerging. Now, this kind of a situation, I feel, is actually, unprecedented, as has been, rightly pointed out by eminent panelists. So what I want to actually stress on is actually the relation between your emotional well-being and the aspect of business here. And so specifically, from our company's perspective, we've been organizing, actually, EY has been organizing a lot of counseling sessions. We've hired a psychiatrist. So what we have done is we have set up helplines. And this is actually free of cost. And people can actually call up the psychiatrist, and, they can take, sessions with them. And this is actually, of course, the identity of the person is not revealed. Any question related to the pandemic, they can, and these are professional psychiatrists. And the other aspect of this, besides, of course, the psychological counseling is, I believe, is the role of the leaders. So when we've spoken about, empathy here, so I also want to, I've seen like two kinds of leadership styles, in the course of my career. There are people who are actually, so they are leaders who control, their team, and they are leaders who lead by example. So what I feel is the latter category has been able to cope up with this crisis much better. So now this latter category, I was looking at news, and I was actually watching, this Prime Minister of New Zealand, I think, and I was so impressed by her positivity that she brought into the whole handling of the pandemic, for their country. And I felt that leaders who have spoken, negative, maybe in those countries, the ability of the people to handle the pandemic has not been as great as compared to leaders who have given out positive messages, who have actually inspired their, countrymen, or it actually applies to, as much to the companies. So, and they have led by example. So, so here I feel that, it's very, I mean, we've always been taught about this aspect of leadership, and nowhere has it been, that how leaders should really inspire positivity in their team. And in no other time, I think in the history of mankind, has those kind of leadership skills been put to test then or are as relevant as in this particular time. And my leadership team, the EY's leadership team, we have been actually spreading the, we have been spreading the message of positivity. We have been, telling our teams that how important it is, because when we look at news, when we look at social media, we actually see so many, negative things. And we have been telling our teams that how important it is to stay positive, to always look at the brighter side, to look at the positive side of things, and to continue, on that same mindset. So I think this particular approach has really helped us to, tide over, and of course it's a continual effort. But we are confident that we will actually tide over it, with this kind of an attitude.
Right. So leadership have definitely been the spine to take care of an organization in these tough times. And similarly, I would like to bring in everyone's gentle notice that here the leadership at Vivekananda Global University have been very, very successful in initiating, identifying, and stabilizing the new norms of learning, and the concept we are on for the time is no lockdown in education, and very well ensuring that. Uh, Talking about leadership now, let's come down to the employer side. Bringing me to Mr. Smith for that. We have a lot of MBA students, we have a lot of management students watching us here online, and definitely curious as well as a little anxious about because they'll be soon approaching the corporate world. So from your side, we have been talking about all of this EQ, and we have also just talked about that soft skills have come out to be the leader in these times of crisis. In fact, in the world of machine, the future world of machine, soft skills would definitely be nothing to be kept at bay. In fact, those will be the leading skills. Those will be the skills to survive, or in fact, to step into the corporate world. Wanting to take your very clear opinion on what are the key soft skills the future MBA aspirants need to imbibe and develop to be able to survive, enter, and rule the future corporate world.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and good morning, panelists. And thank you, Nitin, for this. So, with regards to the soft skill for the future aspirants, what is my opinion is that in current situation, what we are looking into, see, this is very much okay, upfront. I mean, it's very much clear that we need to be very clear with our soft skills. So if I talk about it, it has to be very clear message to the teams, and also when you talk about the skills which you require, first of all, it's a communication skills, and then you have to be very much active, and also team player, proactiveness, everything, problem solving. So if I take a current situation and what we are doing in our organization, and rightly said by Pooja as well that she is also into the essential services, and also Bharti Airtel comes into that, and we are taking that example. I'll tell you that. So initially, team, we were not ready for everything. Here, everything comes into the picture. What all skills are required to continue the plan? Okay, so everyone was trained. There were several trainings which were given, such as communication skills, problem solving skills, and there were many managers who looked into how we can resolve the issues. Now, when you're talking about the MBAs who are going to look into this, and in the future, things will definitely change, not the way which we are doing right now. To the continuation. Definitely, some part will get continue, and some of that we need to improve. For example, we need to look how we we are going to solve the problems as everything is going to be virtual. When I talk about the clients while taking the initiative, or it could be other things, how we are going. It has to be approachable, and you need to be very positive towards the work, irrespective of what is the situation is. You have to be approachable. So that is what I will conclude, that you have to be approachable, positive towards the work.
Right. Being approachable, flexible, and adaptive, and of course optimistic about the situation is definitely one key factor which will help all the aspiring, the candidates who are in the management curriculum for the movement to be switching over into the new journey of life. Uh, on the recruitment perspective, because we have just been talking about that, what are the key skills which will be important? Now, because the recruitment space would also be changing, somehow we'll be, leveraging into the digital era of hiring. Videotech is going to come more handy, and it's going to find its root in it. My question is now here to Mr. Sudev Das. You have been, in the business of recruitment for more than 2 decades now, and have been at some key roles with some leading organizations. How do you see the recruitment perspective being changing in the future times? How the students or the candidates need to be more adaptive, more ready for it, the right skills needed. I also have a question that is this e-hiring methodology could be termed conducive for the right talent onboarding, and is it viable for mass and campus recruitment activities?
Great. Thanks for that question, Nitin. It's been interesting, and as you rightly pointed out, it's been 2 decades in talent acquisition. I remember the time when I started off my career, and I used to look at bundles of resumes every weekend and sort them out to digital resumes, to job boards like Naukri and Monster coming in for see where we are. I mean, and it's become super competitive, and it's changed at the pace of, if I may say so, significantly. And it has changed not just in terms of the process or the technology, but it has changed in terms of how people are assessing others. At the end of the day, and there's been enough research around this, Harvard and all the psychologists who are present, talk about trust, and it's about trust, right? When I meet a candidate, or when you meet a candidate, in the first few seconds, you try to assess, is the person trustable? And from there, then it leads on to, does he have the competence? Can he communicate well? Does he have the skill? I think fundamentally, these are the core from a recruiting perspective. It is a lot about assessing behavior. So I don't see that changing significantly in the context. It's the median. I remember, and it's like this, right? And video has been there around for a long time. But today, it is the only option in the current context. And that's the change, right? So how do we deal with it? I mean, I've had hiring managers coming back to me and saying, hey, I'm not comfortable and I can't judge a person on the video, and I want to meet him. There has to be that connect. The question is, why do you want that connect? And that's assessed. How does he feel? How does he look? What are his mannerisms? How does he behave? What's the context? So I think that's going to be a very important change, the medium. And, I have been very closely associated with and worked a lot with a lot of institutions like yourself. In fact, here at Bangalore, in the startup that I have and I have worked, it's the same across. So the challenge today is, and it's just got aggressive in the context of how do you pick yourself when there are thousands and thousands of people. How do you stand out? That's the fundamental context for the candidate. And when we were doing the startup that we were, and today it's about 30,000 plus, the thing, we talked about the simple concepts. And we're all familiar with TikTok, what TikTok does, how does it do. And it's about that 90-second pitch for a recruiter to go through hundreds and hundreds of resumes, which are on a minimum 2 pages. So on an average day, a recruiter is looking at 200 resumes, multiplied that with 2 pages of pages. It's massive, and most of the recruiters are struggling in terms of how do we manage this. Now, the question really is, how do you stand out for candidates? And one of the most awesome ways is video. And when I was doing this about 6 months back in a leading university here, 5 session, the context was, hey, do we really need video? Do I really need the context today that resume may not cut it over. So what do I need to do? Can I give the 90 seconds that I'm going to speak on video? Can I help a recruiter make a decision that, hey, I want to shortlist this guy? And that is the significant change. What also is going to change from a video technology perspective, there are tools out there which are using AI. I'm talking to you, those tools are going to assess my confidence level, looking at my eyes in terms of, am I nervous? It's going to look at the way I'm speaking, my diction, my context that I'm setting. So there is significant artificial intelligence there now, combined with video, to be able to help recruiters assess it. So what does it mean for the candidate? It means that you are not in front of a person, yet you are in front of a person through a medium called video. And the question is, how are you going to position yourself? How are you going to help him, tell him that you're the best choice that he has? And that it requires a lot of things. One, it requires your ability to communicate, ability to establish that you are trustworthy or you are authentic, so to say. The ability to say that you have demonstrable skills. Now, earlier, you could talk and get through this. And in recent times, a lot of startups are using, hey, show me work that you have done. So how are you going to showcase that work that you're doing? Whether it is related to some projects that you have done, and it's all about showcase. Nobody's interested in reading stuff. So I think there's significant change from a candidate perspective that we go through as we take, and that is required today because you need to go and position yourself, saying that, hey, I'm different than somebody else who's coming out of the same college, and recruiters have significant choices today. And it's not the story in India, it's the story across. You look at the US, you look at China, you look at Europe, there is tech out there which is enabling business. And so I think these are some of the things that from a perspective have to be clearly understood by students coming out, candidates who are going through interviewing process. As simple as the kind of background that I'm using will help somebody frame a decision about me. If you have a shirt hanging at the back and then I'm giving an interview, whether we like it or not, we are judgmental here, at the end of the day. And that qualitative context will be critical in terms of as we move forward. There is also technology which is now getting out to the candidates. There are AI bots, chat bots that people are making resumes on and knocking doors, and the process is automated. It will get more automated. But quite honestly, I think video has been there for some time. It's changing, but it was the only option now, and it is going to be the only option for some time to come. So are we going to go back to the old method of face-to-face? Maybe, or maybe not, depending upon how it is. Sorry, that was a long answer to a short question.
Very interestingly being stated by you that in this automated world of recruitment, now when machine taking it over, artificial intelligence is going to have its role to play in assessing the interviewee. Definitely the candidates need to be more sharp because machine is not going to spare. When there was a Numendat, you still had Escape and a lot of other things were also contributing, but machine is definitely going to take a very sharp note on every movement and everything you put on there. So a candidate has to be very, very specific in terms of skill, behavior, as well as the sharp and the tech skill. Gig working, flexi working, continuing the conversation of the work environment because that is one very important thing of any professional curriculum. Professional curriculum is only being completed when, or rather, it's good for me to say that professional curriculum like management is the gateway into the corporate world. So these schools are the gateway into the corporate world, these management students, or rather the management learning professionals. Talking about gig working, flexi working, the new terms, the new trends that has been lately observed in this changing times. How do one need to adapt or how do one need to imbibe in these skills to be able to be adapted or adjusted to these new norms of working? Also, I would want to understand to Mr. Amit Sethi and then parallelly to Pooja as well, that what is the best SOP that can be formulated to ensure the best work efficiency in the virtual world of working? Mr. Amit.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. So, I've been observing people working from their respective homes since the onset of this crisis. And, and this is to do like what I've observed is that, okay, people actually, when they're at their respective homes, so there is a tendency to, mix your personal things with your official things. Workspaces are not independently created. Uh, and of course, many of them, even to the extent of, they get into household chores. I mean, we've seen like, in the midst of teleconferencing, how there is, the wife telling them that, you haven't done this or that. So, we've seen all that. So I think it's, actually people said that, because of COVID, work from home, will be actually restricted to the time when there is a COVID situation. But I would state that work from home was something which is actually long due, for the industry. Uh, so as you see that there are specific, of course, there are specific industries which require your physical presence. But having said that, there are really those kind of industries where work from home will not just be restricted to COVID. It will become, according to me, it should become a new, norm, even beyond COVID. So having said that, it's very important for the industry to set up some, SOPs, and that includes, first and foremost is sticking to your, for example, if you are getting up at 7 o'clock for your office, then make sure you get up at the same time, even if you are at home, right? So it need not be that, if you are, I've seen many people actually, when we are in the midst of conferencing, so, they are starting their day at 10 o'clock. So if you're actually getting up at 7, then do get up at 7. And if your office is starting by 9, and make sure that you are on your table by 9 o'clock. So this kind of a discipline, this kind of a routine, that should be a very important aspect of the SOPs. Of course, it's very critical that you have those kind of soft skills, that you are actually well organized. The other important aspect and the soft skill which should be included in the SOP should be around knowledge of your tech skills, because as work from home becomes a new norm, it would require you to more sort of upscale yourself on your tech skills, video conferencing, and kind of platforms that we will be using. And another thing which I have seen is disturbances, and reducing any sort of disturbances in your routine. So many times we see people like they are just, maybe some people, they look too much into WhatsApp messages. They just get they look more into social media things. So those kind of distractions need to be minimized. I've observed this, although it's there actually when you're working from your office space, but these things become more and more relevant when you're working from home. And an SOP is designed around minimizing these kind of distractions. And one most important thing is, don't get into any household chores. This is actually, people say, okay, we've talked about the work-life balance. So, for example, personally, and this is something I've followed. So 9 to 6 is my office timing. So I tell my wife, when I'm actually, I do my office work. I take care of my kids. No problem with that. But 9 to 6 is my office hours, devoted specifically, for what I'm paid for by my office, right? So it's not that, I'll be going and buying vegetables in that time, or I will be, so don't get into that office chores kind of, things in the middle of your, that creates a distraction. And plus, it's very important that we take frequent breaks. So, the mind, it has a, it's very important that we keep on stimulating our mind through various ways and means. And one of that is, to take those kind of breaks, which, maybe you can play a quiz or a puzzle, sort of stimulates your mind, and then you can get back to it. So I think all your SOPs should be designed around keeping these aspects in mind. And I'm sure that this is very much linked to the well-being of the employee. And we have seen cases where, in fact, personally, I have been, so we have a roster system in our office. We go to the office 2 days as per Ministry of Home's guidelines. 3 days we are working from home. And believe you me, actually, the amount of work which I have been able to do working from home in the last 2 months is actually double the amount that I was doing when I was going to the office. And I mean, I'm just saving 1.5 hours of my travel time each day. I mean, I stay in Gurgaon, I travel to Delhi, where my client location is. It takes me 1.5 hours in the midst of heavy traffic to reach my office. Now, if you multiply that by two, 3 hours every day is wasted for me. So I mean, I think that this should become for specific industries, not just be restricted to COVID, but a new norm. But yes, having said that, we need to come out with SOPs around these aspects. Thank you.
Right. This is very interesting, and I'm sure this is a very positive thing that had come out. That work efficiency have definitely not gone down in this two plus months of lockdown, and discipline and scheduling and prioritizing had helped out all the employees and employers to ensure same. Also, I mentioned the word called gig working. So herein, I would Mr. Sudev, what basically the term gig working or flexi working means in these times, and how one need to be adaptive on this.
Thanks, Nitin. And gig, according to me, is the future of work, the way we are evolving and the way we will evolve. This was, or this is, in many ways, I call a reset of quite a few norms. It's like the reset, rebooting, workplaces and things like that. Now, it's not necessary everybody agrees with it, but I think, and I've worked in that space. The gig ecosystem started with the startup, and it's huge today. It's big. In fact, Amit's company EY has a massive platform there, and there have been some significant benefits for both individuals as well as organizations. And gig engages you to develop or build on those skills that you have and start, monetizing those skills. And that is a stepping stone in many cases that I've seen, and I've worked with a lot of interns, a lot of freshers, to finally they're getting the kind of job they wanted. I remember of a couple of cases they didn't know what to do. So whether it was digital marketing or whether it was the software or whatever is the aspect. But I think that whole process of a year in the gig economy and working in gig kind of a situation has helped you discover stuff that you may not have known about it. At the same time, you start monetizing, which is you start earning in many ways than not. It's going to be a big one as we go along. My personal take around this is the dynamics of employment will change in the next couple of years, and you will see it. This is accelerating some of this. So the question is, are we going to get paid salaries, or is it going to be by the hour or by the transaction that we complete in terms of the scale? So I've been given a project, I need to do market research. Like in 6 months, can I quote a price? And I can get that price. So it's significant, and I think I'd like to allude to what Amit is saying. In the flexi working space or the gig working space, that discipline is very important. Whatever you do, what's the discipline out there? So now coming back to gig and the flexi working, there are multiple platforms out there, and there are a lot of youngsters who are experimenting with some of these platforms. And it cuts across borders. So it's not necessarily that you have to get onto an Indian assignment. You can get onto an assignment set by somebody in the US. You can get onto an assignment somebody said which has been set from Europe. So it's that context that it revolves around the work that you're supposed to be doing and delivering. But it's going to be intense. As a student, you need to learn certain skills. How do you engage with customers? How do you manage a project? How do you? So I think those are the skills. Communicate. Those are the skills which are going to be critical. But gig has been rewarding for a lot of people who are in these specialized skill segments and are getting there. So it's at multiple levels that the gig economy is working. It has been impacted. Let me also be very candid about it. It's impacted significantly, obviously, because of organizations pulling back some of that stuff. But to that context, so has employment, with companies laying off and massive layoffs expected as we go into the next. So I personally believe flexi working and the gig working is basically going to define how we work in the future. So employment will change its nature and force as we go along. It's not necessary need to get a salary or be fixedly employed with an organization.
Right, definitely. Flexi and gig working, these two terms have come out very positive and have, first ensured the possibility in in the future world of employment, and the students, of course, the aspiring, the corporate world, the future of the corporate world. I mean, the students would be stepping in the work schedule from the academic courses would definitely be finding a benefit out of this. Connecting to Dr. Vigyan and so we have been talking about different norms of working and the SOP that can ensure the productivity and then discipline have been important. So this is all in the context of professionals. Connecting to the student side of this concept, it's been all learning and it's been all working and no play. Do you really think the productivity have gone down in terms of students? The learning have gone slow. Sir, can you please unmute?
Yeah. Am I audible now? Yeah. Nitin, for most of the Indian students, this was a very new experience altogether. To be very honest, the moment lockdown happened and the institutions were forced to go to blended learning or online learning, it was a pretty big shock for all of them. But trust me, the way most of the students have migrated to this platform and adopted it. They learned except for using Zoom or webinar or Cisco and all of them. It really shows that our students, these students, are extremely compared to what probably most of others felt. The Gen Y, we feel that are not so responsible or they careless or they don't care about a lot of things, but that's not the case at all. My experience has been extremely, absolutely amazing. They adopted the change so far so soon. They didn't really lose much. Because when the lockdown was announced in the middle, most institutions still had not finished their all academic requirements in regard to teaching or assessments or vivas and so on and so forth. So everything had to be completed, and I guess not too good schools have business schools or other institutions have already completed that responsibility or task in some way or the other. Whatever platform they had. So from that perspective, I guess schools have been extremely receptive, and no doubt about it. But can this go on for a long, long time? In education, at least think most of the institutions believe that it cannot be just the blended learning, it cannot be just the virtual learning. There has to be a hybrid, model as such. Something which is more immersive, both hybrid, online and on-site model as such. So we'll have to come back to the classroom because what really remains missing is the cognitive part of interaction or understanding schools, which a face-to-face platform or typical traditional classroom will offer as such. So students have been able to adopt it quite well. And this is what I mean. Like I'd like to quote what Ronald Reagan said once. Is that status quo? He believes that status quo is the Latin word for the mess we are in. Now, nobody wanted to remain in the mess. Most institutions, adaptive institutions, most agile institutions have really shifted, and students want to go back to the classroom. They want to sit and listen to the faculty and all, because for them, at least that kind of culture is still not common in India in the sense like it cannot be a major qualification for you as such. It can be an additional, like for instance, like if you really look at the MOOCs, the massive courses offered by Coursera or edX and all. Initially, when they were launched about 5-6 years back, a little little more than 5-6 years back, everybody felt that they're going to really threaten the classroom system or education, but that didn't happen. and the dropout in the MOOCs was almost what as high as 34%. And because it's a lockdown, it hasn't gone. It has really gone up again. But will it continue? God only knows. Maybe a bit of classroom, a bit of because schools want to go back to the campuses. They want to enjoy the campus life. They want to enjoy the gym and university, openness and things like that. And I'm sure the students are looking forward to that kind of stuff.
Right, so very keeping hopeful. We should soon all be, along with students, be big, the wonderful days, the best days of one's life, and very rightfully and very optimistically being accepted by you that students are very well adapted to this new side of learning, a new phase of learning, and a change is always welcoming. But definitely, there's no replacement to the traditional form of learning, and the tech tool can only make things more comprehensive and can act as an add-on. We have Smith with us, one of the alumni from the reputed B School Vivekananda Global University. And we also have Pooja with us, who's in a very senior position in the corporate world currently and is an alumni with the leading B School IIFT. Understanding from both of your side the importance of internships and projects. Also, I would want to understand there are a lot of bachelor students who are watching the show out there. How important would be a master degree to be able to combat the future world of employment? With and then finally, I would want to take Nitya and put some Pooja as well on this.
Okay. Thank you, Nitin, for that. With regards to internship, I personally believe that it's very, very important when you look from the professional career point of view. It gives you it's basically, if you are into a competency, it's a competitive market, job market right now. And when we go for the jobs and all, looking for it, so the recruiters will look into that. How important is that? Because you have been exposed. I mean, you are into the organization already. You have seen that culture. That gives you a confidence, and also it improves your skills, professional skills, and moreover, you will be learning how organization works. What is the methodology they use, and more importantly, I would say that if someone has decided, okay, I want to go into that particular industry, and if someone has decided to do that internship, so they will come to know that, okay, whether that by doing that internship, they will be clear with their goals as well, whether whatever they have thought it is going in a correct way or not. They have a time to switch, and it's very much important. As I said, practically, yes, it gives you it's a push organization. It's very, very much important from my point of view.
Thank you for your input. Right. Pooja, wanting to understand from your side, I mean, how important is internship? Meanwhile, a professional degree curriculum when a student is in to step into the corporate world, right?
So Nitin, this is a very dear thing to me, especially on the internship. When I was leading the Aditya Birla Group leadership programs, I've hired almost 500 students from typically IIMs or internship, right? And what they always used to come, and I'm sure students listening to us here, they think that I want to grab a PPO. I want to grab a PPO or a PPI. That's the first thing in my mind. I think internship is a mirror to yourself. Internships helps you to know what are your core areas of strength. With what is it that you enjoy? Currently I have almost 6 interns. It's the phase of internship, and I have a chat with them every Saturday. And I tell them, what are the skills? Where do you think you enjoy? Did you enjoy the customer interaction, or did you enjoy book secondary research? Did you enjoy creating something, or did you enjoy something, improving something, or improving the process? So this is actually a way to understand yourself. And today people run after strategy. For me, I can't do strategy. I'm a person of operations, right? I have to drive it. A lot of students out there, they don't understand that, okay, I may get into the best of the company and I may fail, or I may get into a startup and I might succeed and grow faster. The purpose is to enjoy and learn and create things, right? So internships gives you that opportunity. In US, in other parts of the world, people do internships at least 3 times a year, 4 times a year. TISS has that model, amazing model wherein students do winter internship also. For them to be able to understand which kind of company and which kind of function I want to go. For example, within MBA, right? You can go into marketing, you can go into strategy, you could start your career from sales. These are absolutely, each of them requires a different personality. I think internship helps you to get that understanding of yourself. And why do I mean when the campuses have also designed it so that when they're sitting to their final placements, they could understand uh, what kind of company should I apply. Now, on the second part, I think an MBA degree or a master's degree for that matter, the world is moving into specialization, right? We have bloggers, blogging, which is emerged as a specialization field. Communication courses are being designed for the same. Similarly, there are various new aspects. For example, in my organization, customer centricity. There is now customer centric head, which is coming up. So we need those specialists. Master's degree helps you to achieve that specialization. And when the world is competitive, when we have thousands or the lakhs of students coming out of bachelor's degree, it's how do organizations differ? How do organizations make a differentiation? So a master's degree definitely helps you to acquire those skills, and it makes easier for the organizations to get people from masters because the maturity levels are very advanced, and it helps to put people in those specialist roles. So that's my take on that, Nitin. But I have a clear request to all the students out there who are even aspiring students to please understand themselves. You're not suited for every kind of role. There are thousands of roles now. I think in our country itself, parents are also allowing that. Parents have opened up. One of my friends, her brother is a very famous blogger, and her mother always wanted him to be a doctor. She's very proud of him now, right? Right? He's a motivational speaker as well. So please open yourself, explore through internships, understand yourself, and then take up it. That's my take.
Right. Very interestingly and very wonderfully being marked by you here that internship is a mirror to yourself, and students must take this advice very, very sincerely, and that can definitely help them shape into uh, a right career path ahead of them. Thank you, Pooja, for those interesting and important insights. Connecting to Dr. Bigyan Verma, here we are discussing about internships and the importance of projects. Sir. Post this era of COVID, or let this be even like in this new normal amid COVID, what are the changes do you think will become necessary in the curriculum and pedagogy as the result of the new working standards? What is the expected pathway for the future decade to come in terms of learning?
Can I add a couple of points which Pooja was talking about right now?
Would be great. I mean, would be definitely great.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on what Pooja said. Fact of the matter is, let's say MBA. This continues to be one of the most popular master's qualification in India and world over as well. The only problem is that we're still teaching kids for future jobs with today's mindset. I don't think that should continue for a long time because student population is changing every year. They are smarter than most of the baby boomers like us or the Gen X faculty, and they are really looking for something different. And that, from that particular perspective, I just want to say, like, what do we really see, or what do I see in the future as such? As you notice that as the unlocks have started opening up from today, tomorrow onward, a lot of people have a lot of hope about everything, right? From economy to what's going to happen. And I wrote an article immediately, but just when the lockdown was announced and was published, and I highlighted about 5 different areas which will be affected substantially, at least in the education field as such. And the first one is, as I felt that remote learning will become an integral part of entire pedagogy for any business school or any institution as such. This has started happening in the schools also. I'm sure you have seen that WhatsApp message when a small kid is carrying a mobile, which said, earlier I was not allowed to carry the school mobile into my school, and the entire school is in my mobile. So that's how things are changing substantially. So remote learning is going to be an integral part. MOOCs, from Coursera, edX, SWAM, NDTR, all have become very popular. Will they substitute the traditional learning as such? No, that will continue, but that will really become an important and integrated, important element of the entire education as such. The second I felt is AIs. The artificial intelligence is going to be substantially used for experiential pedagogies or pedagogies. Just to give you an example, Professor Ashok from Georgia. He says that he give me a call any time of the day or in the night, asking me any question, and I will not disappoint you. And trust me, even if you call at 3 o'clock in the night and for any particular question and such, you'll get a response. But mind, just remember one thing is that it's not him he's talking about. He's developed an artificial intelligence guy called Jill Watson, who can respond to all the queries. So similarly, something like this is going to happen in the education also very soon, and it started happening in many engineering institutions all over the world as such. The third is experiential learning through AR, VR, the augmented reality and the virtual reality is going to be part of it. Because a lot of people say that MBA education has to be compared with the medical education. So in medicine, you actually operate on a cadaver and then you learn. And with that, in an MBA, you only go for 1 or 2 internships, knowing very well how important they are. But how do we really get the experiential learning? That's exactly where the AR, VR is going to be used substantially by institutions. Number 4 is what we call as the virtual process. Everything is going to be virtual, right? From recruitment, enrollment, to interviews, vivas, exams, everything is going to be extremely virtual. That way you can actually reach out to a larger population all over the world as such. So that kind of scalability is going to be the most beneficial thing. And the last one I think is the democratization of accessibility. This is a cause for worry for a lot many institutions and universities, especially because the financial pressure is going to take place. Cost of higher education is going up, but on the other hand, it's going to be difficult to get that kind of return from the students in terms of fees as such, because more and more universities will have to make education available through digital platforms to a larger audience at a cheaper cost. Affordability and accessibility is going to be so these are the 5 things which are going to make, which are going to be here for a long time. I just want to say one more story. Immediately, like when World War II happened, all the men had to go to the war. So all the men who were employed in the companies, factories, they were replaced by the women. And when the World War II ended, women never went back to home. They continued working. So, the blended learning is going to be a part of it, and it's going to be an integral part of us. So that's COVID-19 has actually accelerated the entire process. That's what I feel.
Very, very interesting, to know from your side, sir, that both will definitely help the education to change for better. And how interestingly have you, made that example that, in fact, there is an assistance, a solution, and help which is available because of this new world of digitalization at even 3 a.m. at night, or the early morning. So such odd hours also students can find the accessibility to finding solutions to these right problems. Very interesting, and this gives us a ray of hope for a better future of education. Disrupted by COVID, and leading the disruption. Where do you think does the opportunity lies? Also wanting to understand, we have been talking about this has changed, that has changed. Let's try and discuss what is the aspect that has not changed out of all this which have been happening. Taking the opinion from Amit Sethi and Dr. and Pooja Agarwal.
So I think, thanks Nitin for this question. So basically, when we say disruption, actually, it's not actually the entirety of your business principles have changed. And aspects of business principles definitely have changed, but your business principles, your knowledge, your soft skills, you see all that remains the same. I mean, you still go to your office, you follow your business principles. Having said that, certain aspects of that. And actually, when we actually brought out, through this workshop, and being part of several other workshops, that specifically those aspects have been brought about, which actually have become disruptive. So. Like what COVID has done is it has already fastened the process of something which would have anyways happened. So, for example, let's just take the case of what we call disruptive technologies. Now, for example, artificial intelligence, blockchain. They were all, big data, robotics. They were all, they're all disruptive technologies. And sooner or later, the nature, how we were supposed to work would have anyways changed. And, I was part of a study we did in 2016 from EY, where we predicted the future of jobs. And this study was for BFSI sector, manufacturing sector, and we predicted the future of jobs for 2025. We predicted how the profile of the people who are working in these sectors that will change by say 2025 or 2030. So what we really found out from that study was that so your jobs were remaining intact. The artificial intelligence was actually not taking away your job, which was actually the common perception that this technology is going to take away my job. But it was the what it required you to do was that we actually noticed that if there was an accountant, still he was actually learning on the job. His job was remaining intact, which means that I think the disruptions, his job was remaining intact. But if he was doing things the traditional way, then maybe he ends up losing his job. So the point here is that when we talk about when we actually talk about disruptions, so maybe disruption is like out of 100%, maybe 20-30% of your business principles actually have changed. Rest 70%, what you have learned still remains the same. So what you do is you just adapt to that disruption, and whatever are the new things which come, it actually doesn't alter the game altogether. It doesn't mean that you have to unlearn and relearn. It just means that whatever you learn, through the course of your career, you stick on to that. Now you add something like a new skill. So as you keep on adding new skills, so and what you're doing is you already have something, you already have your background of experience and all that. You're just adding on to that. So still, I think that is your approach. There is no issue. And let's look at disruption for what it truly is, which is, certain aspects of your business are disrupted. Your whole business model has not gone off. I mean, it's not gone for a toss. Maybe 70-80% of that still remains. So let's only look at, those pieces which are, going for a toss.
Now, starting with Pooja, what are the opportunities that the disruption and what has not changed?
Okay. So for me, Nitin, I think the core values of a human being, the way, the organization, their vision, their dreams haven't changed. I'm sure for a lot of students sitting out there, their dreams haven't changed. They're still pursuing, their curiosity hasn't changed. Whether they have got more time, which has been saved due to non-travel, as said by many of my colleagues here, hasn't changed at all. The curiosity factors have gone up. For me, myself, my dream of leading and creating the impact on my customers hasn't changed at all. It's just that the medium, the way Sudev said, the medium is changing now. In fact, during these times, we need many more people, going forward. The kind of people we'll hire for our roles, I always look for people who are self-motivated. That's going to go up. Because if you're working from home, your manager can't be keeping an eye on you. Are you working or you're not working, right? So people who are self-inspired, who have that go-getter spirit, okay, despite being on high tech, I can still create that trust with my customer or with my team member. That is the only medium that has changed. Otherwise, I think the ability, for example, for our business, the strategy 2023, the vision 2023 is absolutely the same. Our leadership team, we have decided will continue to achieve that bigger, faster, fitter goal. But the medium, the organizations or the industries that we were targeting, that has changed completely. Now, if you talk of the opportunities, I think there are immense opportunities. One is on the business side. There are a lot of sectors like, somebody was talking to me. There will be a lot of servers that will be needed will be needed, and the warehouses will need to be. In terms of students here who are there is lots of areas that they can build it, especially to build their digitization skills, right? Ability to analyze. There are people who are coming up with apps where you can actually analyze facial expressions. There are a lot of startup opportunities, especially in healthcare. There will be a lot of education that will be. So these are the opportunities for ourselves, for Schindler. We have come up with antiviral solutions within a period of 28 days, and that's been designed by some of our masters and interns who are there. They have worked with the R&D team and come up with those kind of solutions. So it will depend on the industry, Nitin. It will depend on a lot of every industry has opportunities, new opportunities that will be looked in. But what you need at this point of time, especially as a student, is that I am not going to be beaten by something. Rather, I'm not going to be disrupted by something, but I'm going to create my own disruption. Right? Bill Gates actually, one of the examples, he failed with his first company. He absolutely failed. But he went and created something because the vision was very clear that I want a laptop or a computer having an MS Teams or MS software in every computer. He achieved it, right? There were so many technological revolutions, or I can say something like these pandemics. The world went through, but still he achieved that vision. So vision shouldn't change. Your dream shouldn't change. Yeah, that's my
Now, beautifully being said by you that, for these students, what have not changed is the capacity and the ability to dream, and that should never ever change. Very interestingly, and definitely there are a lot of opportunities which lies henceforward of these tough times or times of crisis. What students need to do is they just need to, be a little quirky with their skill sets. They just need to innovate, and entrepreneurial skills will definitely help them lead the way forward. Last questions to wind off the discussion for the day, and then we'll move on to the last phase of live Q&A from the audience side. I would like to connect here with Mr. Sadev Das. Layoffs and salary cuts. These have been to very, despairing and depressing terms, which is just being bombarded by everywhere in the media. Now, when we are moving ahead into the automation, where COVID is being the catalyst, humans are being expected to be replaced by humans. Sorry, are to be expected to be replaced by machines. What does the future job market look like? What skills are being needed to be able to combat that battle?
So I think things are changing pretty quickly if you look at it, and I think that's a very interesting subject, and can have a longer discussion around it. But I think what is important to note is that yes, there is depressing news too, but then there is there are initiatives which organizations are running which I have not seen before. I have been a part of a lot of restructuring, a lot of those organizations. But what is happening now is very interesting. So I, get some organizations are taking calls saying that, hey, customer impacted cash flow, operations, etc., and hence the layoff or hence the salary cut. But there are also organizations and there are people within organizations who are volunteering, and this I haven't seen before. And this brings me to that whole context of what I was, articulating. One of empathy, gratitude, if salary is cut, what is going to be the impact on somebody else? And across my organizations, and I hear a lot of other organizations have voluntarily asked people to contribute to on furloughs, to take leave without pay. And there are a lot of them from a leadership standpoint who are doing it from a person, individual team perspective, people who are doing it. So that is very heartening to see. Yes, companies have been impacted. Yes, jobs have been impacted and they will be impacted. But I think we are a bit too soon to say, hey, everything is going to be replaced by AI or robotics. Or I think we are further way off. And the reason for that is having closely been associated with a tech startup and a couple of other startups. It takes a significant amount of time for a machine to learn for, and it's only incremental. You have to run through significant amount of data, decision making, a whole lot of. Subsequently, I mean, as we go along, yes, it will evolve, but also remember, Amit alluded to it, Pooja alluded to it, the basic human factors, right? Your ability to make a decision basis looking at somebody. Those are kind of things which it's still way off. That's cognitive learning. And yes, there's significant progress being made, but still way off. And if you stick with the core values, with the core behavior in terms of who you are, what you do, what you can deliver, and assess people or do some of those things, machines are still not there. And it's going to take time. I think one of the points which Pooja made is also very critical. The new world is all going to be about trust. And I trust me that you will do your stuff even if you're working from home. I empathize with you that yes, because the lines today have blurred, whether you're working from home or this thing. You have to, good, bad, ugly, you have to cook food, you have to do stuff. And what we are doing to ourselves is unbelievable in some of the cases. It's so blurring that you don't know when to stop and when to start. And that's challenging for a lot of people out there. I think what needs to happen is that, having said that, I think the whole context of trust will become very important. And it is going to define us in a new context. So, earlier I remember when I started off my career, people would start with not trusting you as an intern, not trusting you as a management trainee, not trusting you as employee joining an organization. The fact that they have to. The fact is that you're turning that thing really 360 degrees on their head. And similarly with customers, they will need to trust you. Yes, you will need to display behaviors which are trustworthy. And those are kind of things which will still stand apart, which will still help you get a job, which will still take you there in terms of the opportunities that it will. So I think from a skills perspective, as I said earlier, still zeroing down to 4-5 things. One, learn to communicate, both written and verbal. Has become more important. 5x, now it is 10 to 15x. How are you communicating? How are you being perceived? That's critical. Number two is your authenticity. Come across like that. And in a person-to-person meeting, you can figure out, okay, and we are judgmental whether we like it or not. We are hard-coded strategy. You make a decision. I can trust this person or not. How are you going to do in this medium that we are not talking about? That's important. The other thing that a lot of the panelists talk about, resolute. How determined are you? How focused are you? How motivated are you? That will determine your success. And the fourth thing is, I think, again, talk about curiosity. Can I hustle? Can I do a job, earn my money? That thing will really now start defining your ability and your success, because the parameters of success are changing significantly fast. For some, it is learning, and it's segment which needs different things and different contexts to motivate them. To talk about a blogger, there are people who just get about making massive amount of money to that. So it's that context, and for us as employers, and that's why I'm saying the future of work really is around that gig context, because that's where. So if I need a service, I pull a service. It's not necessary I need to have an employee, a full-time employee, to do that. And so I think those are some of the things which are going to be critical as we move forward. But surely there are no times when robots are going to completely take over. There is still, some time away. I mean, on another note, it was, and I don't know how many of you saw that launch yesterday. It was amazing of SpaceX and how many people were involved. SpaceX and NASA. SpaceX put out the first rocket and Dragon crew to launch first 2 humans ever for commercial flights now. And that's a huge thing. It still required about a couple of thousand people over 11 years to get where we are. So it's not that easy to just switch off, switch over. It's going to take time.
Right, the switch over is definitely going to take time, and how well have you made that point that in changing world, how the students need to adapt is by being confident, keeping the trust over themselves. And these are definitely going to be the key skills which will help them survive in the future world. And let not the news headline define it for you that it's the end of the world. Uh, so now we move forward to the last phase of this wonderful discussion. Thank you all. It was absolutely a very well-defined discussion and was very benefiting for all the live audiences. And thanks to that we had about 500 people who were there with us in the starting of the session, and they're still with us on this closed platform. And definitely there are thousands watching us on the live platforms as well on the social media handles of Vivekananda Global University, Facebook and YouTube. First question we have is for Mr. Smith for that. Uh, this question is from the student side. So, this is the VUCA world. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. In this VUCA world, we are talking about the managers for new normal. What do you think would be the key skills when any organization will think of hiring the managers for new normal?
Key skills would be you have to be problem solving. The major thing when it comes to the managers, how well you are going to solve the problems, how quick you think, and also when very rightly said by our panelist also, the communication skills and all. So everything you need to look into that, and also taking the example of the current scenario, so everyone has learned. I mean, they have gone through this pandemic situation. So taking that as an example, we need to look into that. So problem solving, risk taking, and how well you are going to take the customers' problems, and you need to solve that. So that is what my opinion is.
Right, very interesting. I mean, problem-solving attitude is definitely going to give a cutting edge to the aspiring students out there, and of course they need to well adapt to this phase via this problem-solving attitude of theirs. Next question coming up is from YouTube live platform, and indeed a very interesting question which is coming up. So this is a female to female question coming up specifically Pooja on the panel. So this interesting concept of work from home have been, indifferent for females because it's work from home and work for home as well. So, when in these tough times, how have you managed, and what's your advice to all the audiences out there, specifically to the female audience?
So I'm sure, first of all, it's not only applicable to women; it's applicable to men as well. I'm sure all of my colleagues have said it here. So that's the best part that the partners are coming together and doing the things together. But yeah, answering that, I think I'll go by what Amit mentioned earlier. You have to have your schedule. Like for me, I always used to cook my meals. I don't go by the I am from Delhi and I don't like anybody cooking food for me. And so I still go by that concept, getting in early morning and keeping my meals ready. But yeah, the BJP government follow or the BJP follow is very difficult, uh, which is Bartan Jhadu Pocha, which is a part of everybody's life now. So I definitely miss my maid. But yes, I've made schedule for that. Maybe post work hours, there is enough amount of time that helps to rejuvenate. Also, I've taken it in that spirit. It's again when we talk of work-life balance. So work is meetings on MS Teams, inspiring my teams, and life is this other part. And also, I think Sundays are available to us. So it's about entire balancing and also thinking it, take it in a spirit that it's not a burden, right? It has to be done. My friends in US have been doing it for years. They don't find. So I think this is also a good thing that I have learned, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues here are learning is how to balance your time. It's about managing the time completely. So I'm actually surprised with myself that and a lot of my colleagues that I mean within this much time, a productivity is better and ability to cook meals, be healthier, and also able to manage other aspects of life is much better. And it is.
Nitin,
recently the government of India on the University Grant Commission, UGC. Okay, UGC has that is that students can actually courses on SWAT, the online portal, and that it can be added as a part of the credit earned as a normal course. So even if you're pursuing the course, from let's say you, and if they do a couple of courses in SWAM, that can be actually calculated as a part of your transcript as such. So this has been now considered to fairly legitimate way of earning credits.
Thank you. Now, also, Mr. Sadev, we lost because of some connectivity issue. Taking your last note, the advice to make an e-resume, a video-friendly resume, to be able to present themselves the best possible way. The last advice, and then we'll be able to wind up the session.
Great, thanks. So thanks, Nitin. I hope you can hear me. I think the important thing is with the current scenario, and this is for all the students and early years candidates, as I call them, is that I think you have to be innovative in terms of standing out. We all know there's been a lot of layoffs, a lot of people available in the market. And the preferences are always going to be for the best out there. Companies, as I said, yes, they are looking for talent. They will be, they will keep looking for talent. But if I were to hire in today's scenario 10, I would typically hire 3 or 4. And so the question really is, how do I get to those 3 or 4, or what do I do to become a part of those 3 or 4 candidates? I think video is a great way to do it. There are multiple platforms out there who can help you create that 90-second pitch. A lot of organizations want you to now apply with video. But I think that 90 seconds or 1 minute that you're going to talk about in your video, I think has to be a context that you are able to articulate about who you are, what is the value that you bring to the table, what is it that you have done from an experience perspective, what is it that you've done from an initiative perspective, what have you done from a perspective of a whole lot of things to be able to present that. And I think the idea is to make it sweet, short, and very impactful. That's going to be critical as we move forward.
Right. Putting it across the go-getter attitude would definitely help the right talent being onboarded. On that note, putting a close to the wonderful conversation and requesting my tech team to be able to present the e-memento, and that's a very innovative concept that the team have been able to brought about in these virtual times, to be able to forecast our gratitude to all our wonderful panelists, being able to make time and join us in this wonderful discussion, making it special for everyone in the audiences. Of course, I would want the session to end alongside the e-memento by what Dr. Vigyan started off by saying that it's now unlock one. One last line of optimism from every panelist and I present in this e-memento. So please accept this e-memento on behalf of Vivekananda Global University. It was a sheer delight to have you in the show. One last line to how and what optimism should we take when we put across unlock one. You need to unmute.
Yeah. Homo sapiens have survived all kinds of disasters. So don't worry, we'll see through this also.
Right, we'll definitely sail through this. Next, I would love to present the e-memento to Mr. Sadev Das for joining us from Bangalore in this wonderful discussion, making it more interesting and bringing along some wonderful facts for these students to follow in the near future for employment. One last line to optimism in this unlock one concept.
Thank you so much, Nitin, and everyone at VCU for inviting me and doing all the hard work for the last 3 days putting this together. I know there are a lot of challenges to put something like this. I think one word of advice, I think there's hope. Humanity has survived toughest situations. I think be resolute, focus, and as Pooja said, follow the dreams. What's that big one that you want to do? So things are going to change, but it's going to be for good. So stay strong, stay safe, and do your thing. The world is watching.
Right. Stay strong, stay safe, and keep the hopes high. I would next like to present the e-Momento on behalf of Vivekananda Global University to Mr. Amit Sethi. Thank you so much, Mr. Amit, for making time and being a part of this wonderful panel and making it complete.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you so
Last
much.
words from your side as well, please.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you so much. So, actually, these times have really made me to go back to, my work life and actually the basis on which I had based it. And so when I started my career, how I actually defined success. And, over the last, 20 years of my work life, I've always, had this wish, when I get up in the morning, the first thing I look forward to is that what can I actually learn today? How I can actually grow emotionally, how I can, add on to my skills. And, I've seen around in the professional life, okay, people, running after positions, titles. But for me personally, the motivation has been my personal development, and that has been my motto. And, nothing has stood me in better stead, and especially in these times. So I believe that the power of positivity is huge. And, when it is actually a collective power, I've tried my best to sort of, encourage my colleagues, and I've always looked at the positive aspects of things. And many times I have a discussion, people, they are telling me about, through media reports, but I always try to tell them the positive side of it. And I think all these have, helped me. I mean, they have really helped me in good stead. And I propose to continue doing that. Thank you.
Right. Very right word being said. Self-development is what is the take-home we are taking out from you, Mr. Ahmed. Presenting the e-Momento to Ms. Pooja Agarwal on behalf of Vivekananda Global University. It was lovely to have you on the show. What wonderfully, you made students learn from your experiences of education and then working in corporate. Thank you so much, Pooja, for joining us on the show.
Absolutely a pleasure, Nitin. Thank you so much for organizing it for the students. I think it was absolutely needed, and I hope students, even if they have taken one takeaway, for me, I think what I follow every day. If the plan doesn't work, don't change the dream, change the plan, right? And be safe, please be positive. We have seen a lot of leaders whom we talk about who have accomplished, especially they had failures. They absolutely had failures, but they still did not change their vision or the dream. So please don't change your dream. You could change the medium of pursuit. Thank you.
Right. Keep dreaming, and that's the best we can do, and that will definitely keep us optimistic. Presenting the e-Momento and feeling very proud while doing that on behalf of Vivekananda Global University, our very own alumni, of our very own star alumni have made us all proud. Thank you so much, Smith, for joining us in this session, making this panel complete. One last word from you to all these student viewers who are watching. You there, your juniors, your super juniors, and of course, the aspirants who wanting to enroll themselves in this wonderful curriculum of management.
Thank you, Nitin, and thank you, Vivekananda University, our global university, and all the very best to the students out there. Stay positive, and from my point of view, you have to invest in yourself, and as directed by Dr. Vigyan Verma as well, that there are several online portals which are available. Invest your time in learning good things. I'm sure something will be there for you. So keep investing your time in learning.
Right. Keep learning, keep going, stay positive, bringing us to an end of this wonderful session. Requesting all the people who are there in this closed room to please switch on their cameras so we can capture this wonderful screen. And last but of course, the most important part of the show.
Nitin sir, one more information for all the participants from that information that Vigyan sir has a anniversary today. So on behalf of VGU campus, I just congratulate you.
Thank you so much.
How wonderful! How wonderful!
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Many congratulations.
Yeah.
Many
Thank
congratulations.
you so much. Thank you.
Right, and this comes up close and personal from Dr. Praveen sir as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well done, Nitin.
I request everyone please put on the camera so we can screen. I can see my seniors, my colleagues on the screen, and most importantly, the Department of Management Studies. I mean, I don't know if I sound biased. One of the best departments. We have so many wonderful schools under this big roof of Vivekananda Global University. Department of Management Studies have been doing wonders, and this had been one such wonder. I don't know, 7th or 8th or 10th, but then bringing along this kind of concept, this kind of panel, this kind of discussion, thousands of audiences across the globe. What a show. Under the able leadership of Dr. Praveen Chaudhary, Dean of Management Studies, and Dr. Manisha Chaudhary, Head of Department of Management Studies, thanking the team who had been working day in and day out. But these audiences, stay tuned. We have the last special session coming up from a very special guest. Dr. Abha Prasad will be joining us at 5 p.m. today for the last concluding session. He had been the director with RBI and currently is the program leader with World Bank. Therein, we'll be discussing how to reinstate the economy and how to start the unlock chapter. Can I please request everyone to put on the camera to see a screen full of wonderful, lovely, smiling faces. Requesting Mr. Dipanshu Arora, Ms. Anadi Trika, Mr. Ankit Acharya, Ms. Deepika Gupta, Dr. N.K. Agarwal sir, Dr. Shalini ma'am, Dr. Vikas sir, everyone please put the camera on. A humble request. We have all the panelists there, then all the team behind this concept, working day in and day out, bringing such interesting thing on board. Right, I'll click the control screen, and here we have captured this concept. Thank you so much. Signing off for this session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. It was absolutely lovely.
It's great to meet the panelists, and thank you so much.
Be safe. So much.
Stay home, stay safe, and let's adapt to the new normal. Thank you so much. We're signing off for the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you.